I've been playing a lot of junk this season, so
That's good. That's good. Trap. Just trying.
junk because Mark taught me.
Yeah. If they have like a good Doomfist or whatever, traps are like very important. So try and place them to help with backline pressures a little.
You know, if we also ever need to do.
Okay, so immediately when I see this comp, I'm thinking that you guys are going to play a poke game and just sort of spam out the enemy before you make an initiation, right? Like, you have the Hanzo and the junk, so you're playing for picks, damage under the shield, and then you can make the initiation while they're out of resource.
Yeah.
the meta.
So that's
Doomfist don't make a lol. Let's run Zen since we're running 2 DPS that are both very spam oriented. Just try and burst down their tanks.
I mean, chances are they're gonna be running a really brawly comp with Zarya, maybe.
Yeah, they're probably gonna be running tanks as well. The question is if they're running triple support or double
They have a
DPS.
Hanzo main, so
Yeah. I'm expecting a Hanzo and they have a Pharah main, so I'm expecting a Pharah. We need to play in lane, and if they're running a Pharah, taking...
Alright, already. One thing that I'm noticing is that your Mercy isn't switching Lucio at the beginning to give you the speed amp out of spawn, so you get to point quicker than switching back to Mercy and flying to catch up, which is just like a little tip that you can do, so that way you get there quicker and you can take the engagement a little bit faster.
Pharah taking...
Yeah, the Mercy would do that because she can just fly back to your team afterwards, and then you would have the whole team there.
Take engagements on their tanks. We have more damage.
yeah.
They have a Moira. They have a Diva. Just keep pushing on them.
Okay. Already, I believe that's Dizzy talking, right?
Yeah.
Just keep pushing. Yeah, okay. Well, that's a wrong call because, like I said, you have the spam comp, and if they have a Moira, this makes it even more so that you should just hold back, take the room you have, and be able to poke into their comp. If you can melt the Rhine shield and get rid of the Moira healing resources, then you take a fight, and they're essentially down a healer. And plus, they have a Pharah, so I'm going to assume they're running Moira, Mercy, Pharah, that kind of thing. And the Mercy's going to have to pocket the rest of the team, which makes the Pharah a much easier target to hit. And so at that point, you can make the initiation, and you'll be able to take the fight from there.
Oh, they're on this ground. This is ground. Okay, just go.
At this point, I think that one of the reasons that you died is mainly because your team decided to keep pushing instead of having you into the backline. And so you took a lot of spam from an outside with Pharah, who's just getting free angles onto you. Because you don't have a shield there, you don't have any backline support, where you could have just pushed through main and then kept spamming them in that room where they were. So that was just sort of more of a team mistake and not solely on you. So, yeah, immediately you're down your Zenyatta. You should be pulling back with your teammates. I noticed that you're just like, Ryan drops his shield immediately, which is a bit of an issue. You could have helped him get back, and your Mercy's doing the right thing by pulling back as well, healing up the Zarya first, and then getting the res off, which is what I believe she does.
Where did Daddy
They're both
die?
critical. I'm not sure why your Mercy flew in front of the Rhine shield, but that's just what I've noticed. And now you have two tanks that are both in critical condition. Your Mercy's very low, and the fight should be lost from here, provided they decide to take advantage of the situation. Alright, so your Zarya backpedals to get the vial over there, which is definitely what you should be doing considering you're down a healer, and then your Moira flanks onto the right side. So you're down your off tank, you have no res for it. The fight is pretty much lost at this point, especially with how low your Rhine shield is, how low your Mercy is, and your Junkrat's at half. They should push onto you here, and so I would recommend just either back out unless you can get unless you see an opening that you think you could take the fight with. What was that charge? I'm not sure as to why he would charge out that side. Like, you're down your Hanzo, you're down your Zarya, the fight's clearly lost, and you should begin to just back out and go out through the right door, so that way they can't spam you out as you begin to leave. And I noticed your Ryan just pins past there. I don't know if he was going for something cheeky, but that was essentially a feat at that point because he doesn't have anything supporting him, and he's pretty much just charging into the enemy team hoping something works out, instead of just backing out, shielding your two supports and the Junkrat, who are the only ones left mistaken. and so that way you could have made an exit together and regrouped much quicker.
Yeah.
Then the rest of you follow him, which is a bit alarming because now you're just running back into the team who are going to easily just pick you off at that point. You're feeding them ult charge and you're staggering yourself, most of all. So there's really no reason to be running back there. Even if your Ryan goes over there, that was a relatively clear mistake. And, I mean, you did follow your main tank, which is good, but that was just a bad call altogether. You all just died here.
I have 100 latency. What the hell?
Now everybody should either just die or get out. There's no reason to be sitting around. Back in the spawn. First guys. Yeah. So this fight's lost at that point. You should be regrouping like a spawn. Your Hans is dealing a little bit of poke, which is good.
They just used poke.
Their right just pinned off the map. I don't know. That should be like a green flag just to start going in as soon as you get your 6 back together as quickly as you can.
Use coalescence. They probably don't have Reinhardt yet. We need to initiate on the Reinhardt and kill the Reinhardt fast.
The Reinhardt's not there. Why are you initiating on the Reinhardt?
Fast.
I have tire.
Okay.
That was a sporadic shield drop, which is why your Hanzo died.
Okay, I'm gonna res this.
Okay, the rest of it is good.
Okay, whatever.
Go server room. Go server room. Don't push main now.
Server rooms, yeah, I guess that's the call. Your Junkrat's kind of feeding here. It shocked me that he made it out alive after that, but at that point, server room's not a bad call. You could just go straight into them from there, but I would have much rather seen somebody go straight onto them and sort of blitz their team, because they're still down the Reinhardt, and you can take severe advantage.
It's fine. Okay, we're initiating on now. Push on the round. Push on the round.
They just popped off. Also push on their Ryan.
God, I'm not there to shield it.
The fight's lost here because the Diva Bomb has pushed you out into the server room with half of their team, and the Dragons are rolling you off from preventing to go help the rest of your team. So they should easily pick the 2 of you off that are right there. There's you and Hanzo, if I'm not mistaken, and they'll take the fight onto the other 4. So it's like a 2v6 right now, and there's very, very slim odds of you winning this fight. Plus, they've already used Valkyrie, Dragons, and Diva Bomb, so the best call is just to regroup, dry fight. You just burned 3 ults out of them, and they're all huge. They won't have graph combo, they won't have really anything to deal with that. Your next push.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the Super and Val, which is a bit of an issue, but that's fine.
50% of the combo. Okay, we have Tyre. We want to kill Faro with that. She has justice. If you can do it at all, do it on this map.
Okay.
Keep the hammer down. They're being aggressive. If Faro's overextended, we can kill her.
Wait, I'm gonna ult.
Okay. Push right.
So the call that is Far's overextended, kill her. She's right in front of your team's face. She would be an incredibly easy pick. Just put a Discord on her. It's going to take half a second to kill her. Then you can push another Ryan. They're 5v6. They're walled up by the Dragon. So that was a good call as well. But I feel like your Ryan's being too sporadic with the target calls, which should be your job, Natty. Because you are the Zenyatta. You can see more than he can. While you're on dive, it's a different story. But in this scenario, you should be able to call what targets are Discorded and who you should be focused.
Kill Ryan.
I mean, I do love that you all are following the call, though. That's pretty cool. I don't see that much.
Ryan, he's separated from his team. Diva. She's outside. I got both.
This works out for you?
I got both.
Nice.
Mostly because of the Tyre in your DPS who put a lot of pressure onto them. I'm not sure I agree with the call to follow the Diva outside because there's a Moira right behind you who's whittling down your Zenyatta and would be a much easier. So I'm not sure if that just wasn't communicated, but that would have been a much better focus target. And you could have like completely negated her ult, taken care of her, then followed the Diva, cut her off, and then staggered her for even. Which would have been pretty much the next 2 fights for one for you.
Nice. Push in.
No more.
Moira is still behind you. You died because nobody focused that Moira flat out. Nobody turned around. I don't know if it wasn't called. Like I said, it's just that was.
Point.
Finally, Oblivion turns around for the Moira, but I don't hear it called, which is another. Like I said, comms are just a huge thing, If you can listen and if you can communicate what's happening, you have a much stronger chance of winning, and that's basically a lot of Overwatch is comms over mechanical skill.
So whenever I turn to see the Moira here, should I call out, hey, there's a Moira behind us?
That would be a perfect call, yes. Like, I mean, she just killed your Sen, she's behind you, she's going to feed more ult charge off of your team, and it's just going to take forever to kill her, so then she'll stall at the point at the end. I mean, you 1v1 her, which worked out well, but, I mean, I still think that you should have made that call.
Okay.
Nice, okay.
Hanzo
Let's
dies.
just,
So, the fight's won, but you're still on your Zenyatta. You should take the choke point, because you have the
I'm
jump
looking for
Hanzo
a
spam,
stun here, or
which is
a
what I'm
shatter
expecting
here.
you to do.
Okay, yeah.
But your team's playing really far back, especially with the comp that they're running. If you can hold at the doorway, that would be much more beneficial for you, especially with the comp that you're running, because that's just such a tight choke point. There are only 2 entranceways. Both are very, very easy to spam into. You have the Mercy there to res anybody, and if somebody dies after that, you can easily back up the point, and then they'll be time. So, it's 90% of the time, it's a good idea to hold at the door, but with this comp especially, that should be the call to be made.
They're going.
They're going something.
They're going. What? I don't know where they're going. They're supposed to be staying.
I don't know.
Okay, they're going mid. I think. Yeah, they're going mid. Looks like they're
Comms, just wow.
Back up.
Your Junkrat died because he was out of position from the rest of your team. He wasn't playing with the Reinhardt, and the call should have been focus down shield. I can do blank. Let's say he wanted to shatter, he wanted to do something. He could have easily taken advantage of that situation, provided you had your Junkrat there melting the shield with your Hanzo. And I'm not sure who that is over there, but he's about to get just stomped. And the fight would be salvageable if you tranced right now. And you would have had to invest ults into this definitely, even though you're down a player. Like, that ultimate can be thought of as another player coming into the team and helping you for a set amount of time. So it's... in my opinion, you should have burned trance as soon as you saw your Reinhardt starting to get low. And then you could take the fight and burn down these tanks that are pushing you. Like now.
I'm healing.
And instead, you all get picked off, they take the point back, and you have very little time to rest and get back onto the point. And especially with the situation you're in now, I'm expecting at least 2 of you to get staggered off, if not all of you. So, odds are this map is already lost at this point, because just of this fight loss.
I'm dead.
Watch it. It's okay, it's okay. Oh no.
Yeah, we gotta get that.
Grab him here.
You died with 4 ultimates. I mean, you guys are holding on to ultimates a lot, and especially that Earthshatter, which I'm noticing because I'm a tank player, obviously, but it's just that he's held onto that all map. He hasn't popped it once, and it's a very expendable ult to either try to save a team fight or initiate or clean up. And, I mean, I think that you guys should have popped at least 2 to secure the fight win, because when you lost that point there, it was over. Like, there's almost nothing you could do to come back from this.
Can you guys get past?
I can't touch.
Yeah. Another map.
The fight's lost.
Yeah, if we run by, we don't have Xander.
Their ultimate was very good as well.
Yeah. Did we get trance mid that?
Yeah.
Alright. Immediately what I notice is a relatively decent team comp. I might have chosen a Lucio over the Zenyatta, considering what you're running, because you're going to get picked off in the backline very repeatedly. Only on this garden map specifically, a lot because the boops are very viable, there are a lot of good rollouts, and you can keep your team up in the backline and peel very well for your Mercy. Plus, you'd be able to keep up your tanks who are on the ground while your Mercies with your Pharah. The Tracer pick is meh. You could have gone with a Genji as well, or you could have gone with a Hanzo even. There are a couple of different picks that could have sufficed much better than I think the Tracer would have. But as it stands, this isn't a bad team comp. It's just you have to play it very.
Wordy, guys. Guys, when I'm rezzing, like,
Okay, you do go, Lucio.
don't
Dismount.
like stand up and fire because I can't heal you guys.
Don't stand out
Okay.
in general.
Okay, wait for
Bridge.
Izzy's calling me. Izzy's calling me.
Okay. Did you get a bit? No, they're running a pharmacy and the Olympics are going, oh, Hanzo's overextended. I'm just staying here doing damage now. Hanzo. Okay, wait.
That was a good boot.
Winston, tap, no jump. Okay, he's back. Wow, okay, we need to back up.
That Hanzo should die immediately. That Hanzo should die. This fight will be salvageable, especially just because you lost a Diva mech. You should still be taking this instead of backing. They're gonna kill you if you back up at this point because you're down that Diva, who is a very key in making you able to back up. So if you were to just engage the fight, try to go super aggro at this point, I feel like you would have had a much better. You've killed the Zen. You've killed the Zen of the Hanzo. Now the fight should be won from here. You should focus on this monkey who's right behind you, and that should just be clean.
Winston on point. He doesn't just beat. Nice, okay. Diva. Okay, Hanzo on point.
Hanzo on point, yeah.
Hanzo. Mercy's sweet. No fly. She's in the back, high white. She's one. Nice, okay, Winston on point again,
I got it. Fair.
Nice, okay, Zen.
At this point, it's just a focus fire issue, which is why it's taking so long to cap.
Zen.
Rezzing.
Oh, I thought it was really far. Monkey. Nice job, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on her. Got her.
Now you're backing up. Now you should be backing up.
Okay, nice, back up.
I'll cover you.
You have
Good
5
job. Okay,
ultimates
we
for
have
this next push.
Borrow, we have Mercy, we have Pulse. Just try and...
Okay, so you have Pulse, Diva Bomb, Barrage, Primal, Falcon. What I would like to see is a sneaky Barrage come out, so that way you can take this fight very cleanly, and that's only 1 ultimate expended, and just go a super aggro off of that. Or a good Tracer Stick would have worked just as well. I would have saved the Primal to maybe stall out the point, and kept the Valk and the Diva Bomb. Just either of those 2 DPS ults can win the fight solely, and you always have more to fall back on if it doesn't work out. So that's just my immediate thoughts.
Hit a Pulse on anyone, call it. DPS, get in position, try and kill Zen with your... with your thing. I have kill. I'm gonna use it.
Left side. They're going left side. As soon as they cross that bridge, I can get out.
Okay, they're probably close to Barrage, so position around that. We need to look at safe defense matrix. Okay, I'm going in D because I have Primal. Pop their Valkyrie, focus on Zen.
That amp was a little bit late, especially with the communication coming from Farah that she's about to barrage. I think you all should have just sped in as soon as you knew your Farah was there, and then you would have been able to take this fight a lot better, provided coverage for your Farah, and followed up on the extra DPS.
It's fine. Okay, back out. Focus, Zen.
The back out call was really late. You let her res. There's a bunch of things going wrong with this. Make it a better way.
Made her kill herself on my body. Oh, dead. Focus, Zen.
Not sure why you burned Primal, other than to just stall at the point, but at this point, it's just, it wouldn't really...
No, it's not. Back.
I like the reset.
There's not enough time in between fights to talk about our ults and their ults.
That's a lie. He is just cluttering columns with a bunch of useless information. He needs to get used to saying more with less. He's using too many words and describing things too vividly. Like, he should learn to basically... The way I could phrase this is to talk like a caveman and use like very few words to convey the same message. And that would have helped your columns a lot, and it makes more room for callouts and things that you can do, what's going on in the fight. So that's the main issue as to why the comms feel so cluttered. Now, you have Diva Bomb. At this point, it's just a dry fight, because you only have Diva Bomb beat, and you could save it. They've just burned Trent's, Barrage, I think that's it. So you could just take the dry fight, try to bait out the other tank ults and the dragons. And then you can go in with a couple more
It's Jesus.
Right. No Mirage, no trans.
Yeah, they use
They
trans
get
barrage.
trans, they use barrage.
Yeah.
Base bomb.
They have dragons.
Okay,
We
so
can
they have
I don't think
Zen's gonna dive target. Let's go on the bridge.
Yeah. I'm on side.
Okay, I'm dropping back.
Why did your Winston dive back? He's absolutely screwed your entire team at this point. He goes towards it just for the bubble, which was not worth it. You could have just sped straight through and then gone the way that you, Diva, and Mercy are going. And at that point, you would have been able to dive the target. You could have played super aggro and won the fight with the beat, if that's the way you were planning to go, because they already used the Diva Bomb.
Back bubbling that.
So he dies to the Diva Bomb here for a useless reason.
I missed the bubble. Let me get my res back. Don't commit.
Fight's lost. Get out. No res.
Commit. What's in the back? What's in the back? Yeah, guys, either die or get out.
You might want to try to matrix your monkey as he's making these dives, because I'm noticing that he's getting burned down really, really fast.
Okay.
So as he's diving, try to matrix him and then save enough to be able to follow him up and make the dive and focus the target with him. And I mean, that goes for your tracer to like just call focus. What my team likes to do with the Pharah is if we're running a pharmacy with the damage boosted direct rocket, you do 150-ish damage. So at that point, if you can direct someone, they're a very low target and very easy to kill. So I like to have my Pharah call the focus at the beginning of the fight, and then we can go in and clean up that target and continue to steamroll the fight from there. So that's just an idea I like to toy. If that works for me. You should all just be regrouping at spawn at this point. You didn't burn any ults, which was good. And you could just take the fight knowing they're done Diva Bomb. All they have is dragons and maybe a Valkyrie.
We gotta hit on Zen.
You're staggering. I don't know why.
Okay,
Tracer's
fine,
done.
fine, just wait. Let's go left this time. Let's not go bridge. They have too much spam damage.
Okay, so they use Diva Bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
honestly,
Hanzo
it's
ult for
on-
sure. So we gotta go. We can't stay in
speed.
white. We gotta go dive Zen.
Yeah.
They should be going now. They should be going.
Monkey.
You decided to turn around the monkey, which is good. If you did it quicker. That took way too long for him to realize what was going on. And you should have expected it and played the counter dive if that was your plan, or just gone full aggro considering you have the Lucio and he shouldn't be able to cut anything. The fact that this happens is just kind
Dive in the back.
of not good.
He's low.
Nice. Oh shit. Keep damaging.
Down,
Your Mercy dies because of what happened here and how long it took you to react.
down.
Oh. Yeah.
And then the fight just gets steamrolled.
Yeah. Stay on monkey. Yeah, that's a team fight loss. It's fine. It's fine. Get out.
Do we want to try to engage on bridge with my Diva Bomb?
Yeah, just go bridge. I don't.
Yeah. Let's go bridge with Diva Bomb. Well, yeah, because I took like a shit ton of damage just like even poking bridge there. That's why.
Again, a lot of that issue is that he's poking for whatever reason and that you don't have.
That's why I said we need to go white.
Throw bomb over the bridge wall, and then we'll just push him.
Well,
Yeah, then we'll initiate
hang
the
on.
loss.
Hanzo's actually by himself.
They have a fight win off of only a primal. You cannot afford any deaths here, and you need to expend all of your ults because now they have every single one that isn't primal. And especially with the Hanzo getting picks like these, that also should not just be happening, and that's just due to unnecessary. Which is why you died here, and it's why your monkey's getting down so fast. It's why your Mercy died. Just
Actually,
a lot of
so-
different issues.
Hanzo's by himself, but we can't do anything.
Can we
about
res
it.
that?
Alright, yeah, I'm resing.
Now you're going into this fight down to res. You should just
Winston just jump. Winston. Kill Winston. He's in the back.
that Diva Bomb was mistimed as I don't know if you threw it before the monkey jumped or if it happened reactively, but that wasn't gonna do anything. You a couple of things that you could have done otherwise is maybe saving it for the Pharah to use her jump jets and the Mercy to fly up and then trying to take them out of the sky because at that point they have no movement. All they can do is drop. Maybe you could have saved that as a remake usage or just flat out waited to not use it and save it for another team fight. I wouldn't have recommended that, but it's just... So the monkey's still behind you. You should all be turning around, focusing him, kill him while one touches.
In the back line.
Come on, Zen. Got Zen.
Okay, I'll go contest. Kill Pharah. Pharah's weak. Pharah.
That was unlucky. The fact that A couple of you are dying to their ults, which is okay because they're burning ults and they're wasting it, so you can engage this next fight. You should be saving ults at this point. Because the fight's already won, you should have it. You have 1 on point, you're only down your Lucio, who isn't as key in this comp. So that should
Damage
be okay.
bar. There we go. Okay. Mercy, 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 mercy.
Winston's one.
Mercy on point. Nice. Winston.
Winston.
Save ults now.
I'm just gonna shoot for my.
Okay, we have beat drop, use it, they're gonna have trance, so use it when we go and try and bait out trance. I have primal, so I'm gonna go in deep for it. We have,
You shouldn't go in deep for the primal in this scenario. It's just not worth it. If you're going to try to bait out Trunts, try to bait out Trunts with Pharah spam or something like that, maybe a Tracer stick. But there's no reason for you to go hyper aggro when you know they have Trunts.
okay, we just
Okay,
got
we've
that.
got Max back.
They,
Because at that point, he's just going to trance. Their whole team should be there, and provided unless there's Zen is out of position naturally.
they also probably have barrage and primal.
Coming
And
left,
Diva
coming
Bomb.
left. Okay.
They just use
Coming
Crush.
left. Okay.
Oh shit. Just take the fight on point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Fine, I'm fine.
Winston on point. Focus Winston.
Beat drop.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that timed well.
Focus mini diva. Don't let her get back in mech. Okay, she's back in mech.
I like the healing. I like the target prioritization. After she gets it back in mech, I think the immediate call should be to go for a squishy.
Switch to Zen.
Like that. Wow, alright.
Zen. There's the trance. It's fine.
So there's the Transcendence. You should be pooping it away while you wait for the Mercy and try to prevent the res.
It's fine.
Nice.
Watch it.
Dragons come in here, which splits off your team.
Watch it.
That's not good. At this point, your Winston's alone. You have 2 people there who could have prevented that res, but your Winston just can't take away the Transcendence, which makes the Mercy able to freely res, and you should lose this fight at this point because they have ults up on you, have your team slow, you've expended your...
Hanzo in the back.
Especially with your healers being
Winston's-
split.
Okay, Winston. Swap to Winston.
Nice. Okay, no problem.
God. Okay, Hanzo. Ooh, Zen. Zen on point.
And then you lost the fight due to a lack of damage.
Yeah, they had all their ults. Good game, guys.
Jordan.
It's okay.
Yeah, we're good.
That came out to unnecessary poke, bad engagements, and poor ultimate usage. You expended things when they didn't need to be used. You held on to things when they should have been used. The poke was just really a big thing. It adds up over time, and that's a lot of the reason that you had only 3 or 4 fights during a map. Because you just kept staggering and losing members before you could even engage, which was very crucial into building up their ultimates and letting their ultimate economy kind of run. You played their game instead of trying to bait them into what you is, I guess, what I'm going to say.
Oh.
What happened?
My goodness. Eddie on the Widow, just play back, I think, and then...
I feel like a
Junker
okay.
Brig.
Widow, and also I have no problem playing McCree on this map.
Yeah. Junker
I think-
Brig.
Brig, Agua.
Immediately, I disagree with this comp because you have the Widow as a solo DPS who should be used as a pick hero. A Hanzo would have been much more effective, even if you thought that they were going to run a Pharah, which is, I think, why you picked the Widow. And a Hanzo would have been more effective with the Discord Orb, and he could have shot the Pharah out of the sky by playing that close high ground. You would have much more choke spam, a better ult combo with Zarya. And overall, unless you wanted to run... And the Brig would have been kind of useless if you thought they were going to run the Pharah, which is... There was no reason to run the Vegeta here. Unless you wanted to absolutely take the ground war, in which case Hanzo would have been the better pick over the Widow. So one of your 2 DPS needed to switch to Hanzo here, because you have absolutely no damage right now. And they're just going to spam you out, burst you down, and your Reinhardt won't have much unless you play hyper aggro, which you can't do much with.
They're running a Pharah. We need to win the ground war, so
You need to win the ground war. Why are you running with them? There's no reason to pop that right. The rest of the team comp I would agree with, other than maybe.
like if they're running a Pharah, don't like backline specifically. Try and like even if you have to stand in unconventional positions, position yourself so you're like indoors away from Pharah spam.
If you're indoors, you're going to get spammed out a lot more than if you just stand out in the open behind a Reinhardt shield, unless you can take LOS away from the Pharaoh, which is why on maps like Ilios Lighthouse, if they run a pharmacy, I suggest standing in the courtyard as opposed to going in that, because if she can get an angle in there, you pretty much just become efficient a barrel, and you're a lot easier to hit, you're a lot easier to spam out, and it's just, at that point, you're putting yourself in a poor position.
Don't just stand out in the open just because it's where we're sort of initiating.
I've got you. Enough waiting around.
Eddie, do you know how to do the hook shot from spawn?
Oh yeah.
When they spawn, like when it's like 2 seconds.
Who's talking to me?
Agua.
Where are you?
Brigitte, come
Where
on.
are you?
You know,
Yeah.
do the jump and you can peek over this building and try to get a pick. Yeah, just practice right now. Just try peeking over.
Consider only victory.
They have
Like 2 seconds or
Going
what?
for
2
it.
seconds?
2 seconds?
Incoming.
Okay.
I just hit run.
Play choke. That's fine. That's fine. They have a Lucio. They have a Lucio, Brigitte.
As soon as you see that Lucio, it's time to back up. Because they're just going to speed, that's usually the plan. If they're running a Lucio, they're going to speed, run over your front line. So you want to poke them out before they can get to you as much as you can, and then make the initiation while you have the advantage. If you play close when they have a Lucio, you're going to die. There's very little reason to sit up there, especially with the comp that you're running. Since you have the Widowmaker, you should be playing in your LOSs, which would be closer to point, or on the far back left, or far on the right.
So just initiate on Ryan. We have more healing.
She's not going to get it.
Oh, they have a Widow too.
And then she just put herself in a position that got her picked off. Now, immediately with your Widowmaker down, you should be backing up onto point, take the fight there.
Widow 2. She's top. She's top.
Okay, hang on.
And
Resing, I'm resing.
while
Okay,
it
there we
reacts,
Oh
Focus,
shit, behind,
focus
behind.
Ryan. Brigitte's one, Brigitte's one, nice. Ryan again, Ryan's one. Nice, Lucio on point, Lucio on point. Where's the fire? Where's the fire? Fire's over there.
Fucking right to my Pharah. They were playing blink me.
there's no reason to give like something like, oh, I got absolutely raped by Pharaoh. That doesn't really help the comms, it's just clutter. So if you're just giving a description of how you died, there's no reason to. Unless it's just saying something like, Farah used Barrage.
Focus, Brigitte. Okay.
They have been revived.
Break. Brig's weak.
Why are the comms should not be this quiet in this situation? Because this is a very crucial moment in the fight. It's still winnable if you get a couple of picks here, especially like on this Pharah that's standing right in front of you, Lucio that's right there. 2 very easy targets to kill, considering their position. So at that point, you should be like the comms should be flowing a lot more than it feels very stale. And as soon as Dizzy dies, it's sort of like nobody has no idea what to do. Is how it sort of looks from an outside perspective.
I was stunned first.
Fight's lost, you should all just be getting out of this point. Helping up the last
Sorry, Arietta.
Ram swap
Okay.
to. We gotta
Let's
swap
just-
to
yeah,
dive
let's just
tanks. Agua swap to Tracer if you can.
Alright.
Or not Tracer.
Stop the payload.
Agua swap to Tracer if you can.
Alright.
Or not Tracer.
Stop the payload.
Okay, so dive is not a bad call because of the Widowmaker, but they're also not running an off tank. So if you wanted to get a pharmacy of your own, you'd be able to put a lot more pressure onto them. If you ran Pharmacy Widow, you could probably get a lot more value out of that in putting pressure onto their DPS and onto their tank, especially since they're running this 3-2-1 comp, which pretty much negates a lot of what Reinhardt. He has to play very passive, and with a Lucio, they're pretty much just not going to have. They don't have a very good comp at all. You could easily punish anybody who's overextended with just sheer damage because of their tank lineup. Or you could, I mean, dive's not a bad call either, but I don't personally think that was the way to go, especially since they're running the Brig Vara, who are just going to destroy whoever dives in. Unless you have a very coordinated dive, Dizzy is going to die.
Payload.
A lot of us got the bad
I
one.
don't even know, dude. Yeah, actually,
The Widow's
Tracer.
down.
They have a
Yeah.
Zen now, so Tracer, yeah.
The Widow's picked, it doesn't matter because
Nice
the team is
shot
going
on the
back to
Widow.
spawn.
Okay, you're gonna res, but it's fine.
I don't think so.
Now to strike.
Alright.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Far
worth
left
for
side?
them. Far
Toward
left
you,
side, okay.
Dizzy?
Oh,
I see her.
I see her. Yeah. I'm
Don't
just-
overcommit, don't overcommit.
I
The
could
call should
maybe
be to
one
wait for
quicker.
Card to move
Just
forward,
try.
and then just
Oh.
drop onto it.
Farah.
Or this.
What?
Nice, okay, let's dive Widow.
No, the Widow's alone on this left side. I don't know why Wolf isn't saying anything, because that would be a very clean, easy kill for you guys to take, especially with the comp you're running. And at that point, you could have dropped onto cart and cleaned up the rest of them, and then without using any movement abilities.
You guys ready? Or is that, Farah.
That should not have come as a surprise, because just flat out of the damage she's been doing, the spam that she's had, and the openings that have been there for her. Plus, your Widow was very separated from your team, which is another reason that she got up by that ult.
DPS the Farah. Nice, okay. Zen. I'm diving.
And also, I would have liked to see a Matrix onto it, but again, that's mechanical skill, and I can't really help with that.
I'm diving.
I'm on
Okay,
Zen,
I
I'm on
got
Zen.
booped.
Nice.
I got booped.
Zen dead?
Nice. Farah. We can damage.
I like your position here, knowing that Farah is very low, and unfortunately your diva overextends and your Mercy's just trying to get her. The call should be like Farah's close, so immediately she can die, and that gives you free reign over the high ground, and that's just a very good position to be in at the moment. And so you could Discord targets however many people that are in very critical situations. So I just wanted to say that I really like
We can damage Farah again.
She's one.
Farah should die.
Nice,
yes.
okay.
Why did you drop? There wasn't much of a reason to do that, especially with how great that position was and where you're holding with the cup they're running. The only thing that could have killed you there was the Farah who just died and the Widow who was also dead.
Hey,
So that's
it's fine. Where are they at? Okay, they're backing off. Good job, guys.
Okay, yeah, nice.
I would have liked to see you take high ground again, just so that way you can be grouped with your team and prevent any counter dives.
Natty, get to high ground. Don't stand right here.
Okay.
That's a terrible position. That's the rally. They're gonna have a tank Yada, meaning we all gotta dive Zen, make sure he doesn't have chance yet for sure, so we gotta commit on Zen.
Okay, if you're gonna commit on the Zen, you gotta hard commit with every single person that's there. You have to be very coordinated in order to take out that tank Yada, because they're all just going to turn around and focus your Winston or whoever's the most exposed at the moment. Or they may just dive up onto you and take out your healer line with the Farah. And so this is a risky play, but if it works out, then it will negate the rally, which makes your life. So it's chancy.
They still have the DPS. Same though. Okay, ready?
Widow's gate.
Took too long.
Okay.
Hang on, let me res that.
I can kill Widow.
I'm resing.
Okay, shit, we gotta
Yeah, I made her run,
Zen on
I made her-
point.
Okay.
He used his movement ability to go in when he shouldn't have, which in effect cost you guys a lot of time, and it made the Winston take damage, and he has no escape now for a solid 6 seconds if they decide to focus him down, which they should. So that would be a bad call on.
You get the point? Okay, I'm on point. I'm just like, fuck, I can't do anything.
Yeah, I'm on Zen again, I'm on
Widow's
Zen.
dive.
And again, you dropped. I'm not sure why. That was a good position to have, but oh well. Can't do much about that. Also, I would like to see you putting your Discord onto targets that are being called for the focus, because it's basically the Discord does. You know the Discord, right? So it's reducing. Essentially, what it does is reduce the enemy's health by 30% because it gives everybody 30% more damage onto them, which makes it a much easier target to kill, and that would help with your focus fire a lot.
Zen's weak.
Dizzy dies, nobody knows what to call. Or I don't think
Mercy,
he
mercy,
has
or
Break
Zen,
Dart.
Zen, Zen
Fair
again.
down, fair
Oh
down.
my goodness. Nice.
I'm on
Widow on high ground.
Zen, I'm on Zen. Zen 1.
Mercy's resing.
Zen,
Mercy's
Zen,
half.
Zen.
Mercy's half flying back. Mercy's half.
Yeah, I'm on her.
Focus, Mercy, Mercy,
Fuck.
Mercy. Mercy's one. Mercy's
They're in
one.
the
Mercy's
back
one.
Not sure why the Mercy
Bear's
is
on
either.
fucking Mercy.
I'm down, I'm down.
Since he's just stalling at this point, the fight's
Okay.
lost. Everybody
Spread
who's
out.
out there
Got
should be
break
out
off
or
the
die.
Okay,
map.
nice. We can contest, just yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's they can't counter our dive.
What?
Anymore?
The wall. No.
Okay,
Okay.
we're fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Heal up.
They don't have break for the next few seconds. I'm jumping through window. We need to focus Zen in the fight.
She
Why are
brought,
you
she
jumping
brought,
through
easy
the
kill.
window? You could have easily
Nice.
just gone out the window.
Nice.
Sorry,
Mercy, mercy, mercy.
teammate, I
Okay, I'm dead.
apologize.
Contest, Valkyrie, contest,
Brian,
Valkyrie.
Brian.
Okay, I'm resing.
Valkyrie res, nice.
I
Okay.
forced try.
Pop Valk, focus Zen.
I forced back the widow.
Zen's one, nice, mercy, or break.
Yeah,
Breaks on her Zen, she's one, nice. Run her
His
on
calls are
point,
really sporadic here.
focus Ryan,
He
run.
could have said things a lot more cool and collected.
Keep damaging
and
him,
if
keep damaging him.
everybody's listening, it would
Mercy,
definitely
mercy.
Also help unclutter your thoughts.
She's weak, Mercy's weak.
I'm on her, dead.
Nice, widow.
Sorry, I was hearing the VOD.
What is
What did you
this
say right
widow?
there?
What I was saying is just that his calls are very sporadic, and if he could like tone it down a little bit, and if everybody was listening to him, then it would be much easier for you to have uncluttered comms, and you'd be able to kill things fast. Just everything will improve. Your entire performance will improve as a whole if you can unclutter these comms and stop being so sporadic.
I'm just I'm not really letting her get shots off. There, okay.
I'm probably gonna die here. Yeah.
Well, back
It's
up.
fine, back up.
I'm not
Shit,
gonna.
already. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to high ground, I'm gonna dive Zen.
Your deep is
Ryan,
dead.
Ryan,
You should be
focus
playing
Ryan.
that.
She's armored. Go on point.
Use poke shot.
Right on me, right on me.
Yeah. Widow has my
Ryan.
Your Winston's in BFE right now. I'm not sure what he's doing, but your Diva's dead. You should all just be playing card at this point, because this last 2 seconds you need to be fighting this. And this forces your Zen to get on, who's going to just die because it's a 200 HP hero on card alone. So a lot of this can be chalked up to your main tank diving in like that. And your Tracer's with him, but still.
Widow has my
Ryan, focus Ryan.
She's armored. Go on point. Yeah. I'm on
They don't
point.
have Brig or Widow. Focus Ryan.
Like I said, you could have used that Diva Bomb to get onto point, stall it out as long as you could, and then once you got out of mech, use the Diva Bomb, and then regrouped, and you would have essentially had 1200 health on the payload.
Okay.
Focus Ryan, right on point.
Zen.
Right on point, right on point.
Zen.
Zen's literally one. Nice.
Got Zen, Ryan.
Stuck him.
Far.
What the fuck?
I'm switching to McCree. I'm not getting any
Watch out
value
for
out
Widow.
of
Watch out for
Widow.
Widow. She's main.
Okay.
Main
Ryan.
One,
Keep
she's one,
damaging
Widow,
Ryan.
one
Keep
in the back.
damaging Ryan.
The switch to McCree was also a good call, because he's consistently losing the Widow war, and he's not getting value out of the hero because he's not able to hit anything. Between their shields and just everything that's going on, there's no space for him to be able to shoot. So I'm not sure if I agree with switching to McCree. Like I said, maybe a Pharmacy, a Hanzo would have done just as well, but I feel like McCree, the Widow was just the bad call, and it took too long to get off of that.
Ryan.
I'm down.
Okay, break. Okay.
I'm on her.
There was no focus fire, even though he's screaming targets repeatedly. And I feel like that's just a listening issue and a lack of DPS in that fight. But there were a lot of reasons that things didn't die, but that's one of the most primary. Sorry.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Switch back to Death Bomb here. Question mark.
Death Ball's not a
Yeah.
bad call.
Oh shit.
Argo, can you swap to Junkrat?
Bad call. You should not be switching to Junkrat at all in this comp. They have 2 DPS who counter you very intensively. And I think that there are a lot of different heroes. Like, maybe if you went back to the Widowmaker at this point, you have a lot better LOS. Tracer, I feel like, should be swapped off of. They have a lot of counters to you, and you're not getting value out of that hero either. So, there are a few different... Hanzo, again, would have been great to see, but Junkrat's definitely just not the call. It is.
Yeah.
Get the J-Crack going.
Plus, another thing I'm noticing is right in this downtime, there are no ults of what they're going to have to be called or what a plan is for the next fight. So that's just something that you could have been saying. It's basically low fight.
They have rally up right now. We gotta kill their Ryan with the amount of damage we have. Focus Ryan.
By the time you even start making calls about it, it's already you're initiating. So that's another thing that could have been fixed.
Focus Ryan.
Focusing his shield.
I need. Okay.
You got melted there because you popped the bubble early for energy. So when he was stunned, that's something that you should be saving your bubble for instinctively. Because he's very exposed in that situation, and of course he could have jumped back to dodge it, which is like something a little bit. It's more niche than anything. So the bubble is a very consistent way to wait. You'll get energy out of it. It'll definitely save his life in a lot of scenarios. But they focused him down super quick there.
Okay.
And just the bubble would have stopped that all that burst. And now the immediate call should just be get back. You can make it recontested.
Fair one.
Watch out, Widow's on the little balcony.
She down, she down.
There. Nice. Push on Brigida.
Their Ryan messed up, dropped his shield, and left the Widow exposed, which is why she died in that situation. She definitely shouldn't have, and they should have won this fight instinctively off of the fact that you're not backing. And with the Pharah, they have so much spam that without a Reinhardt, you're definitely.
We get a
I
one.
got Zen ulted or Zen right click.
Someone's in my trap.
Ryan.
So now you're in full panic mode because you didn't regroup, you're not recollected. They're so close. There's a Ryan on your mercy who's Zai. Your Zarya is low, and they should be able to take advantage of this fight flat out off of the fact that you decided to play up as a team instead of retreating and then taking the fight to 6.
I got. Oh, fuck.
Ryan in our back line. Okay.
Come down.
That's the Transcendence.
It's a good try, guys. We got this on the attack. Oh, nice. We're still stalling. Focus Farah's weak.
She's getting pocketed by Mercy.
So, like I said, there were a lot of things that went into that loss, or that map round loss, I guess. And they're all very preventable, but you have to be thinking ahead into the next fight, but instead of just reacting to things and playing their game.
And I'm fucking up. That bitch is killing me through trees.
Let's go a Widow dive. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll go on the Pharah. And let's either full commit or let's just footsie. Look for an opening. I might just.
Something that you may be able to experiment with if you're playing against these types of teams that have a strong DPS lineup is using a Goats comp, which is 3-3. You use it as Lucio, Moira, Brigida, Ryan, Zarya, Diva. And all you have to do is you use the Lucio speed to go into the Reinhardt or whoever's out of position, and then you just melt them. And it'll help improve your focus fire, and it's very easy to play. And it's very strong until the Moira nerf comes out. So if you're going against a lineup that has a very strong Widow, has a very strong Tracer, whatever, you can run these kind of comps, like these niche picks, especially on attack, that will sort of help your survivability, and it'll definitely make you more maintainable, and it'll be a lot easier to just win fights purely based off of the health pool that you have.
I just call it when I see it, and like we gotta go fast. There's.
And like I said, I would like to see more Hanzo, because he's just very strong right now, and he's very easy to play.
Callouts from everyone else except Dizzy, and try to listen to what he has to say.
She's right.
Because I think we were struggling. I think we've been struggling with focus fire.
She's absolutely right.
I don't know. They don't have that much time on the board, so we can get this.
Yeah, we definitely got this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack.
Okay, go far right. Don't even take poke damage. Choke.
You guys right?
What is main?
He wasted his jump here.
Okay, their Ryan's pretty overextended.
There's no
We
reason
can
to
dive their
pop
back line.
because he's supposed to
Alright,
be
tell me who you want.
Zen, far back. You guys ready?
Yes.
3,
Okay,
2,
yep.
1.
It took you way too long to engage here, because at that point you've already lost your Tracer, you're taking too much poke, which is something that you were trying to avoid by going right. And if you're going to do that, you need to move a lot quicker Plus, the Zen was a bit of a far dive. Maybe if you had hit the Mercy, who's on the right there, you would have had a lot more success. Or even having the Pharah called focus target was explained earlier, which might be another thing that you could do. But essentially, the poke that they had at the beginning of the fight is what screwed you here.
Okay, Zen's out of position.
Bears hit once.
13 health, any healing? And healing?
Bears hit
Ariana?
twice. No.
We're all
You got split from the team there, which means that you're essentially a useless hero at that point. So perfecting the wall ride and using it as more of a speed amp to get back to your team is definitely something that I would work on.
Yeah, okay. Unlucky, Wolf tied. The second one got pushed. That
Yeah,
was
the
good.
second I blinked, she had shot me.
Just be full
let's
regroup
swap
and
to
spawn
deathball.
here or back
That
there,
doesn't work
wherever,
against
just
triple
don't be getting
support.
poked.
Agua stay far, I'd say. But Wolf swap to Brigitte.
You need to get off the Tracer right now. You're having no value. Brigitte would not be the call because they're running the Pharah. You're going to get no value out of the hero. They have ranged DPS. There's nothing that the
This
Brigitte's
Widow, I
doing.
think, might be hacking. Low key, dude. Either that or they popped walls and I didn't hear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You should be with your tank
Initiate.
here a lot more. You're sitting back and taking spam with your Mercy. And plus, they don't have the speed boost to initiate with at the very beginning of that, which is just detrimental to your team. It's very much an issue because they're going in, they're taking poke, and they're taking more damage onto them before you can even have a chance to engage.
Focus right.
Fair once, fair once. Oh.
We don't have any
So
damage
now
to
you've
kill
lost your
Far.
Zarya because of it.
Focus Widow. Widow's
Just get
overextended. Okay, never mind, never mind.
Because
Back
you're
to
just
Ryan,
being
back to Ryan,
moral
back to
charge at
Ryan.
this point.
Okay.
No, Brigitte.
Brigitte on the left. Brigitte on the left.
No.
I pinned her.
Widow
I
down,
not
Widow
pinned her.
down.
With the or Brigitte.
You're by yourself. You're by
I'm by
yourself.
myself. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
Do we
not
have?
run fucking fair end.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
not run Farah. Hanzo. There we go.
Finally see the Hanzo. Hanzo Pharah could have been a good combo there. And that would have worked out for you, I think. Provided that
Okay,
your
I've got
opponent's comfortable
Valkyrie
enough
for this
shooting
fight.
at
Right.
Pharah.
Widow's on the high ground. Hanzo, shoot at her. Okay, she's back down.
I
Initiate
feel
on
like
the
you're not
right
getting a
again.
lot of value out of the Lucio because you're either not utilizing the speed boost correctly or you don't have the damage to focus down the target quick enough. So, Zenyatta would have been much more beneficial to your team.
Again, Brigitte's hiding far right on the corner.
Sunrise,
Be
sunrise.
careful. Back up, Justice behind. Shoot Justice, shoot Justice.
It's just wipe at this point. I see your Reinhardt charged back into the fight, which I'm not sure why he did, because you're essentially just giving them 500 HP of ult charge, and like the fight's lost. You might be able to save your Lucio by getting in closer, shielding her so that way they can get out, but this is a lost fight, so you should not be trying to engage at all. Not sure why you popped Valk, a wasted ultimate.
Brig's weak. I'm dead, probably, yeah.
Mercy's about to die.
Okay, regroup. Okay, I think we gotta speed onto that Brigitte. Brigitte doesn't have a lot of mobility. We need to go focus fire her, take her out of the
Not a bad
fight.
call.
We gotta do this without dying to Widow, though, is a big problem that we're having.
I'm 81 to ult.
You were wasting your shield at this point. You're gonna go in with like 1500 health on your shield, and they'll be able to focus that down a lot quicker, which is an issue. Maybe just wait until you actually begin the push to use your shield.
Okay. Okay, she's off the high ground. Farah's still there. She's above us. So shoot at her. I'll go stay behind my shield, dude.
She's fucking.
More shield has been wasted.
They have walls.
Your
Shield
shield-
recharging.
Oh, you should-
I gotta wait out walls.
You had to recharge your shield because you were using it earlier, and unnecessary. You're waiting too long at the choke to deal poke, and you're just, it's horrible for your team because you need to make that engagement with the amp speed and just go straight in if you're gonna run the Lucio. If not, there's no reason to be.
Can you get the res? I'm shielding.
Yeah, I can get the rest. Okay, I'm
Brigitte
good,
right
I'm
side
good.
by herself. Brigitte right side by herself.
Brigitte.
She should have been punished. Okay.
Got her. Run. I hammered him down.
Yo, I'm ulting, I'm
That's
ulting.
Trance. I'm blocking his healing from Trance. Okay, never mind.
Again, you're down 2, you're burning ultimates, you're going into the fight when it's already lost. It's just, I think a main issue of this is identifying when the fight is win or lost and when it's going on and what's happening. So watching the kill feed could be a lot more beneficial and just being able to take initiations quicker.
Focus Ryan, focus Ryan. Widow's overextended. Kill Widow. A choke, okay.
She's one.
Ryan again. I booped him into the dragon, he's one. Widow, Brigitte.
Look, I'm on her. Break.
It's been 3.5 minutes, and we have yet to have a beat. And that was our first shatter. And these are just alarming because it means that you're not taking team fights. Is what's happening when you have slow ultimate generation, like this. So engaging a lot quicker, engaging properly will help you a lot more with this. So just if you're gonna go to Lucio, you got to take the fight to them very quickly. You got to go in quickly. You can't take poke at all, and just hit that amp button and press W. Or if you're running a Zenyatta, you can take poke, but you still need to be making good use of your shield and going in with it instead of popping it as like defensively when you're not even at engaging yet.
Zen, top right. Oh, okay, you booped him back. Focus Widow on point.
Is back here.
Yeah.
Okay, get to
I hit
point,
it
get to
once.
point.
As far as not being punished at all, which is an issue, that should have been identified.
She's actually.
Okay, it was Mercy by herself.
I would have saved the boop for when she went for the res, that way you could displace her and essentially killed it, which would have taken another person out of the fight.
Stop the
She's
res.
rising. I can't. I don't know what to do here, guys. We're too split up.
It's not that you were split, it's that you weren't focusing on the same target and you didn't have the same mindset at all.
Okay. We can't get split up like that. Like, half of us went far right. It was a good try, guys. First loss. We got this.
So fucking good. Holy shit.
Clean engagements are just essentially what lost you this match. You waited too long to engage, and when you did, it was just you took so much poke before you even started to go. And it's just that just screwed your team because they had ultimate advantage all the time, and they had damage on you. They could engage. You were low on resources before the fight even started. So that's essentially what lost you these series. Also, comms, listening, would be another big thing to work on because I noticed that Dizzy was making a lot of calls, but not a lot of them were followed up on. Also, a lot of what he was saying was fluff, which just sort of cluttered it, so that way you can make more call-outs or plans or whatever. So you had very little idea of what to expect into the next fight. So you were more playing in the present and not having an idea of what to look out for, which was an issue there. Your supports aren't playing with the team, and you should be like pretty much next to your tank almost consistently, which is why you felt like you were getting picked off a lot in the play. It's because you were in backline. So that's just another thing that you could work out for. DPS mechanical skill, you were getting outplayed, so you need to make swaps to counter, and not to things like Brigitte, who got no value in the situation against a Pharmacy Widow. Since they're going to be playing at so much range that there's almost nothing she can do. So that's all I really have here as far as what I've written down. So any questions? All right.
So a lot of the time, whenever I'm like I take a lot of poke damage, right? So like one of the fights on Lijiang Tower, I lost mech like really early in one of those fights. I think it was like at the start of the fight on Gardens, and like a lot of the time I'm like looking for like trying to get information by like looking. So how do I get that information without like taking a bunch of damage? Because that's where I take like a lot of poke damage, is trying to like see what's happening.
Right. Well, you have a pharmacy who should be up in the air and be able to give you accurate information of what's going on because they have so much view. Plus, you had a tracer who could easily go in and tell you what's there. So most of the time, that's your DPS's job to look out for what they have, what they're doing, what's going to happen. And that's not so much on the tanks, unless they're right.
Okay.
Your biggest issue? Taking too long to engage, and that was in the poke was a result of that. So maybe work on making clean engagements on correct targets. I think that was the biggest issue that you had, because you never really took a team fight. It was all lost before you even started. Anything else?
So what you're saying about comms is that like more things can be said if people say things more concisely.
Yes.
So like if our like main shot caller like Dizzy keeps things concise, that leaves room for DPS to
Scout, feed information back to your tanks and supports.
okay.
So, example, whenever Dizzy goes onto a target as Winston, he'll call that target repeatedly until it's either dead or got away. What I like to do is when I'm diving and playing Winston, I'll make a dive, I'll call out a target, like focus the Zenyatta, and after 2 or 3 seconds, if that target hasn't been killed, I will reestablish that we're on that target by saying it again or switching to another.
Okay.
But like I said, caveman speak is what I kind of resort to. If you can't say it in a sentence, then it's too long. You need to find a new way to explain.
Is there any good like way to think about that? Because whenever Dizzy's not doing the main shot, not doing like the main shot calling, I do shot calling. So is there any way to like what's the best way to like practice that? And I like is it just something you have to like really like manually think about whenever you're like playing, is like just force yourself to use less words is the best way to like get better at it?
That's the way that I did it and I practiced it, is just I manually thought about it until it became more apparent to me as to what to do.
Okay.
So something that if you're going to main shot call, all you got to say something like plan is push left, focus X. And at that point, everybody should know what to do. And you should be like, okay, I have beat, we can use that to initiate. Or let's say, I'll pop Valk, go in with the damage boost. So it's just like, if you're gonna like give those two thoughts, just sort of like try to combine them is an easy way of manually thinking about it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anything else I can help with?
I think I'm good. Unless Dizzy and Natty have anything.
Same.
Dizzy?
I'm good.
Alright. Well, I'm gonna go hop in my other Discord to talk with my next people. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, I don't know how to end this, so just go. Alright.
Thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. Good luck.